Right. Well, it's 1 o'clock, so I think we'll make a wee start. And if anyone joins in, we can always recap them in the comments or in the chat box as well. So, thank you for everyone for coming. You are more than welcome to our digital wellbeing webinar. My name is Pauline, and I'm the digital assistant for Disability Wellbeing Service here at Queen's. And I am joined here today by Niall, who is are you the head of digitalwellbeing.ie? What is
Yes,
your official title?
yeah, had our director, yeah, perfect.
Mm-hmm. And if you just want to tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do within digital wellbeing.
Yeah, very good, Pelin. So thanks very much for the introduction. Hi everyone. You're all very welcome to today's workshop on thriving in the age of digital distraction. Very much looking forward to sharing with you all some of the insights that we are seeing at the moment, and as well share with you some tips on how to perform in a world where it is becoming ever more difficult to focus. I have to say I'm delighted to be here today, albeit virtually, as I have many happy memories of my time at Queen's, and still to this day I feel a very strong connection to the university. I'm just going to give you a quick overview of what to expect over the course of the workshop, and I'll also give you an overview of who we are at digitalwellbeing.ie and what we actually do. So we've an action-packed 45 minutes ahead of us. As you can see, we'll be covering three main areas. We'll start by looking at what is digital wellbeing and why it is important. Then we'll move on to exploring the impact of digital wellbeing on your performance. And then we'll finish off today's session with simple tips and tricks on how you can actually develop better tech habits going forward. By the way, if any of you have any questions, comments, pointers to make throughout the course of the workshop, please pop them in the chat. I actually don't have visibility on the chat, but Pauline has very kindly said that she will notify me, and I'll be sure to answer them as best I can. Obviously, the more engagement we have throughout the workshop, the better it is for everyone. So I'll be posing some questions. I'll be prompting some thinking, and the more engagement, as I said, the better. But before we start, I just want everyone to grab a pen and paper. And I also want you all to close any browser tabs other than the one that you have open for this workshop. So I'll just give you a few moments to do that. So grab a pen and paper and close any of the browser tabs other than the one that you have open at the moment for this workshop. Very good. So we'll crack on. So before we start, I just want to give you an overview of myself. As mentioned before, my name is Niall Waters, and I am the director of digitalwellbeing.ie. My particular background is in international business with Spanish, having very proudly studied at Queen's and graduated back in 2013. Since graduating, my experience has spanned across technology and largely training and development, having lived and worked in a number of different countries, including Spain and the US. And I attribute the quality of the teaching provided by Queen's to set me up for success in the various roles that I've held. In one of the actual previous roles, I was fortunate to have designed and delivered leadership development, high performing team and well-being programs for some of the biggest companies in the world, such as Amazon, Microsoft, Bristol Myers Squibb, to name a few. So extensive experience and exposure to what it takes to operate at an executive level in business helped me uncover a worrying trend. And that was the impact that technology dependency and habits is having on performance. So I can also remember back quite vividly my time as a student when platforms such as Facebook were beginning to get very popular. I remember myself and my friends spending hours upon hours on the platform when we should have been dedicating our time to our studies or other activities that would have been good for our own personal development. So let's say the combination of insights and experience led to digitalwellbeing.ie being set up in a bid to combat the impact of digital distraction on performance. So We appreciate that technology is amazing and it has been one of the greatest enablers of all time, but it has to be managed. So we've a lot to get through over the course of the next 45 minutes. So let's move on. Let's delve straight in. So let's start with looking at what is digital well-being. What does the term actually mean? So it is a relatively new term that has come to ever more prominence as technology has started to play a major role in many aspects of our lives. The description that you actually see on the screen is one that we have actually devised ourselves in-house. And very simply, digital well-being is a term used to describe a person's relationship with technology and the role that it plays in their life. So it relates to the impact that technology has on our emotional, mental, and physical health, both from a positive and negative aspect. On the screen now, you will see a holistic well-being wheel, which depicts the 6 dimensions of wellness that were developed by the National Wellness Institute in the United States. So essentially what you see there are 6 dimensions that cover everything from how an individual contributes to the environment around them and community, right through to the benefits of regular physical activity and self-care. So as you can see at the bottom, although digital well-being primarily falls under the emotional and social aspects of the model, you'll also see how it touches on other areas, such as the intellectual element on the right-hand side, which deals largely with consuming intellectual content and engaging in creative and stimulating mental activities. So at the bottom, the emotional and social aspects of the wellness model focus on things such as self-esteem, self-control, determination as a sense of direction, as well as how to build better living places and social networks. So this gives you an idea as to where digital well-being actually fits in regards to overall well-being. So with that, we're going to do a digital well-being audit. We're going to have 5 questions appearing on the screen, which I'd like all of you to answer. There are no right or wrong answers. The sole objective of this exercise is just to get you to start thinking about your current relationship with technology. So in regards to the questions, feel free to answer them with the pen and paper in front of you, or feel free to unmute your mic, say them out loud, your answers, or pop them even in the chat, whichever suits you best. So the first question, do you currently track how much time you're spending on your mobile phone? So do you use the screen time functionality on your mobile?
Just waiting for comments to come in there. I know myself, I don't. And I know that's probably quite scary as well, because I feel like a lot of us are on it way more often than we think. And a lot more, I feel like, you think you're on for maybe 2, 3 hours a day and you're actually on for about 7 or 8. So I do not track it. We've got a couple of comments here as well. So someone has a weekly reminder that pops up to tell them how much they're using it. Someone else said no as well.
Okay. Very good. As I said at the moment, there are no right or wrong answers. We'll crack on with the rest of the questions and then we'll discuss that a little bit further down. So the second question is, do you currently set boundaries around your tech usage? Yes, simple yes or no.
We've got a couple no's. Nope, 3 no's. And it's a no from myself as well, unfortunately.
Okay, no, very good. 4 no's. The next question. Do you find yourself getting digitally distracted whilst working on tasks? For example, let's say you're focused on a task, you receive an email, you receive a text message, you get social media notifications, and you're completely distracted. So I would say here, if you don't find yourself getting digitally distracted, let's have a call after the workshop and we'll do a case study on you.
We've got Yes, yes, hell yes, yes,
Hell
all the
yes. Yeah.
time. I think I could say, I mean, I can't speak on behalf of everyone, but I feel like whenever we've moved now from studying at home or working from home, it's definitely become a lot worse
Yes.
personally. I mean, I think whenever you could separate yourself or leave the building, or it's easier to set boundaries, but I think since all of us have been at home a lot more often, I know I'm on getting distracted.
No, it's so true, Helen. It's the answers so far, guys, that we're seeing here is consistent with every team and organization that we work with. So these trends are very very common, and we're going to delve into it a little bit further down the line. But these answers are all perfectly concurrent with everything we're seeing. The third question is, do you incorporate offline thinking into your week? So let's say, do you set aside dedicated time for thinking offline? For example, grabbing that pen and paper and a quiet place and allowing yourself time to think clearly. Do you know, I would go so far as to say it was actually difficult to find a pen and paper close to you because we're so used to, we're bouncing from our laptops to our mobile phones to our iPads to our et cetera, our tablet devices. So it's one to really think about. So at the moment, do you incorporate offline thinking into your week? That might be, let's say, 10 minutes, or let's say 30 minutes where you set aside and just you're alone with your thoughts and a pen and a paper, let's say. And the final question is, do you believe that your current tech habits are impacting your performance? So are your digital dependencies creeping in and impacting, let's say, the output of your work, or let's say, are they currently impacting your health and well-being? For example, do you click into Instagram, for example, and you follow certain profiles, and whenever you see a photo, it annoys you for a certain period, and after which you can't focus on a task? Or let's say you go in and you start looking at stories, and all of a sudden 45 minutes later you find yourself on YouTube watching videos, let's say, about penguins or whatever it might be. So do you believe that your current tech habits are impacting your performance?
Got
So
a lot of answers here. We've got yes, absolutely yes. And even in the question beforehand, in terms of, setting aside offline thinking, it's quite, I think all of us are quite similar in how all the answers seem really similar. So I think we're all in the same, that we just don't do as much of offline thinking and we get really distracted in terms of
yeah,
tech habits. Seems to be all of us in the webinar by the looks of it.
very good. That's very interesting, guys, because it's all about, first of all, starting to become aware of your current tech habits, and then understanding the impact and implications of that, and then taking the action to rectify that, which we'll talk about. I hope that exercise, the answers should be very revealing to each of you. It should start to prick your interest and say, right, I actually don't build in offline thinking, but I will going forward. Um, Over the course of the next couple of slides, I just want to set the scene in regards to where things are at the moment in regards to tech usage, the implications of that, and then we're going to apply it to you as an individual. Is that okay? So the truth is that the research is actually showing that you'll probably spend more than 100 days online this year. Well, so just think of that. You'll spend more than 100 days online this year, and you'll be able to see exactly why in a few slides. So, in the words of famous professor Cal Newport in his book Deep Work, productivity in the 21st century is a superpower, and never have truer words been spoken. So, the ability to keep focused on a given task is becoming a critical skill, as many people have lost the ability to achieve deep focus, as they spend their days instead in a frantic blur of email, social media, not even realizing the impact it's actually having on our performance and our overall health and well-being. So let's have a look at some of the statistics. So the image on the screen is very insightful, as it shows the penetration levels of mobile phone users in regards to the global population as of January 2020. So as you can see on the left-hand side, in a total world population of 7.75 billion people, over 5.19 billion people have their own mobile phone, with over 3.8 billion as people as active social media users, which is huge. So the startling thing is that these numbers are actually increasing all the time. So you can see in the top left-hand corner, these figures were actually compiled in January 2020 of this year. So you can imagine how the trends have actually been over the last while. So when we look at the actual time spent using the internet prior to COVID-19, people in the UK were using the internet for almost 5.5 hours per day. So if you see in the middle of the screen where it's highlighted in white, the fact that the average internet user now spends 6 hours and 43 minutes online each day means that this equates to more than 100 days of connected time per internet user, which is fascinating. So if you think of it, if we allow roughly 8 hours a day for sleep, that means that we currently spend more than 40% of our waking lives using the internet. So just have a think about that. Recently, we are seeing trends that this number has actually risen to anywhere between 9 and 11 hours. So when you think of it, particularly now as everyone has actually moved to remote studying for the foreseeable, if you take an 8-hour workday or a college day that is largely spent online, the time spent on the internet per day per user is actually much greater probably than 9 or 10 hours. So unfortunately, 2020 we'll actually spend probably more than 100 days online. So whenever you actually look at what this looks like in terms of where you're spending that time online, within the 5.5 hours previously mentioned, almost 2 hours of that time was spent on social media. So our trends and our analytics are showing that this number has been increasing dramatically over the last while. And what it basically means is that people in the UK are spending approximately 2 hours per day scrolling news feeds, looking at photos, watching videos, etc., right? Now, it's absolutely no surprise that social media companies are reporting a huge spike in usage. It's largely due to us having more time in our hands, and we're actually spending that time either on our laptops or tablets or our mobile phones. So, for example, you can see there that WhatsApp have seen a 40% increase in usage due to COVID-19, with TikTok reporting record levels of growth, as you can see there. So what does this actually mean? So our current tech habits mean that we're constantly connected and struggle to actually switch off. The impact of this is that individuals are experiencing increased anxiety, which is really well documented. Their sleep quality is diminishing and is quite poor, and they are seeing a significant decrease in productivity, as we pointed out there, with the vast majority of you all reporting that you've all been digitally distracted at some stage whilst completing a task. So the productivity point is actually a key theme that pops up with almost every individual team and organization that we work with. And it's very simple whenever you think of it. Who is going to perform better? Someone who is able to remain focused on a given task for 45 minutes, or someone who checks their phone at least 20 times in the space of that 45 minutes? Have a look at the statistics in the box. I want you to have a think about those statistics on the right and ask yourself the question, do you fall into the category? So for example, 57% of the people said that they check emails, texts, or social media last thing at night or first thing in the morning. Feel free to say it out loud or pop it in the chat box. My guess is that the vast majority of people check their phone last thing at night or early in the morning. Also, as you can see there, 25%, and this figure is actually increased, find it hard to switch off in the evenings at the weekends. And it's no surprising. But the question is, what is the impact of these type of habits over a course of a long term in regards to your performance and your health and well-being? And that's the question we really need to ask. So it's now safe to say that we're living in an era of mass distraction, where the fact that we're living in an era of mass distraction means that those people who are better able to develop better tech habits are actually going to be the people who are better equipped, let's say, for success going forward, right? So that is why digital well-being is a fundamental performance. Research actually carried out by our team last week found that 97% of the people who responded to our survey seen that their mobile phone usage has increased over the last while. And only 7% of people have said that their employer, for example, is providing digital well-being advice or support. So what this actually highlights is that it is up to the individual at the moment to get this right. And I want you all to understand that your well-being underpins your performance. Your ability to manage digital distraction and set boundaries around your tech usage is absolutely crucial. And we're going to look at why. By the way, if anyone has any questions at any point, please ask them. So, which image on the screen currently relates to you? Are you the image on the left-hand side where you feel like there are so many things right now competing for your time and your energy? Or are you the image on the right where there are distractions present and there are different things competing for your time and energy, but by and large you're able to focus or maintain focus on that one key priority? Now, you can let me know otherwise, but my guess would be that the vast majority, if not all of you, can relate to the image on the left. So you're probably spread so thin at the moment that you actually don't know where to focus your time and energy. Would that be right in saying? So at the moment you probably feel that you're spread so thin that you actually don't know where to focus your time and energy. Does anybody feel like that at the moment?
Got a couple people saying yes here.
Yeah, true. Okay, very, very good. So the problem with the image on the left, right, is that engaging in prolonged periods like this actually leads to confusion, leads to increased stress, lack of productivity and progress, and ultimately burnout. Why? Because it's not sustainable. But however, what if I actually told you that you were doing it to yourself, but that you actually have the power to change that? The image on the next screen is going to show you why. The reason at the moment, and I'm very keen to hear people's comments and thoughts on this, the reason why your time and energy is like the previous image is probably due to what you see on the screen. I want people to spend a moment focusing on that image. How many of you can actually relate to what you see on the screen? Is there anybody feels comfortable maybe talking about it? Maybe saying how they feel that it's very difficult to focus adequate time to the task on the left as a result of all your other, let's say, tasks and activities. Okay, no, it's okay. But basically what the image is telling us, right, is that on the left-hand side, you have your priorities. But you also have all these platforms competing for and grabbing your energy, time, and attention. So what happens is that it's actually quite difficult to dedicate adequate time to the priorities on the left because of the time spent, let's say, watching videos on TikTok or scrolling on news feeds on Facebook, for example, right? But I asked the question, which is going to bring you more benefit? 45 minutes, let's say, of exercise or reading compared to 45 minutes of watching somebody do silly dances and poses on social media. So go ahead,
Sorry.
Pauline.
No
Apologies.
worries, just to interject now. I've got a couple of people saying that they really relate to this image. I certainly can. And procrastination seems to be kind of a reoccurring comment coming up. And
Very
I
good.
know certainly in terms of social media, and I'm thinking of the kind of phenomena of like the endless scrolling when you
Yes.
just keep going, even though it's almost unconscious. And I think it is such a kind of enabler of procrastination that you'd go on and then just kind of do that because you don't want to, I don't know if you're stressed, you don't want to do whatever's next. I'm thinking in terms of assignments or study. I definitely feel like our phones or notifications and stuff can definitely enable procrastination and quite a common theme, I imagine, when you're a student.
Yeah, no, very good. And that this is back to what the trends that we're seeing. So it largely boils down to a number of things. And it's back to the point that you mentioned earlier, just right before the workshop, Pauline, was around being aware of the time that you're actually spending online. Because I believe that it's 60% of our day is actually carried out in habit. We don't notice ourselves, or sorry, we subconsciously pick up our phones without actually realizing it. Before we know it, we're, let's say, 60 seconds into scrolling and not really consuming proper content. So it's human nature, and it's all habit. But the beauty is the positive news is that we can shape our habits, we can change our habits, and we can take back control of, let's say, of these distractions, of take back control of our day essentially. And I'm going to show you how. So let's say if we cast our minds back to the earlier point of people in the UK spending circa 2 hours per day on social media, that equates to 14 hours a week roughly. Imagine you took back some of that time and dedicated it to, let's say, the exercise or meal prepping for the week, or even dedicated some of that time to doing research into your future career. Imagine the actual positive impact that would have on on your life really over the course of a week, a month, and a year. And we're not talking, let's say, completely getting rid of social media. We're talking about starting to take back 5 minutes a day, start taking back 10 minutes a day, and you'll actually see that you're getting more time back over the course of a week and a month, etc. So the key thing to take away from this slide really is start to identify your energy and time sappers. So, what activities do you currently engage in that are stealing energy and time from the activities that you should be focusing on? So, by allowing these platforms to have our constant attention, we are neglecting those elements that bring us more benefit in the long term. So, as I said, identify the energy sapping activities and be ruthless. Eliminate them from your routine. It's time to take back control. Now, I want you all to have a look at the sample daily routine on the screen, right? And I'm just going to read through a few of them. So let's say you wake up at 8 o'clock, you scroll through Facebook and Twitter. 8:30, you eat breakfast watching videos on Instagram. 9 a.m., you turn on your computer, you log into WhatsApp on the browser and also YouTube. You place the phone beside the laptop on the desk, you log into the lecture, and you're interrupted by a notification. You return your focus to the lecture, and 10 minutes into the lecture, you're disrupted by another notification, and so on and so on. How many people can actually relate to that, or what do people feel whenever they see that type of routine? Let's see if there's any comments or any thoughts on that.
Yeah, we've got people saying they can relate to that. Yeah, it seems consensus. I can certainly personally relate to the notification pop-up. The
Yeah,
amount of times you be doing something and you hear that buzz and you
yeah,
start to get frustrated. I mean, I'm sure all of us, I mean, I'm not trying to be rude, but I'm sure all of us at some point have definitely muted notifications or seen like a flurry of WhatsApp groups you just mute
yeah,
for a continuous amount of time. So I think a lot of us can definitely relate to,
yeah.
you know, fragmented use of it throughout the day.
Yeah, no, it's so true, Lynn, because you might actually think that elements of what you see on the screen are exaggerated, but we're actually seeing it quite regularly. So when we first meet with people, we take a download of their current lifestyle and habits, and more often than not, it actually looks like this. And people are unaware of it until you actually map it out. So how many of us have had days like this? The vast majority, right?
We've got a really good comment here I just want to share with you, Niall.
Yes.
Um, Someone's commented saying it's not a routine I make, but I think it's at an unconscious level that it takes place and we're unaware of how much we're being distracted by it. I think that's certainly true in terms of we're talking about habits
Yeah.
and how much we don't realize. I mean, even looking at this, I'm thinking, oh my God, how much am I actually on it? And I don't know. So I think that's definitely something all of us can relate to. It's a great comment.
Yeah, that's an excellent comment. Thanks very much for contributing. That's brilliant, and it's so true. You know, it's back to the awareness piece, guys. And the main objective of today was to start to create that awareness. So the more you are aware of, let's say you touch your phone 20 times within a 30-minute time frame, then you can actually take the action to rectify that. You know, you can start only touching it 10 times in a 30-minute time frame, etc., etc. Interestingly, there's a lot of research around the impact of being distracted, and it can take anywhere up to 25 minutes to regain deep focus on a task once being distracted. So you imagine how that impacts the quality of the work that you produce if you're constantly being distracted. So think of your potential and the potential of your work if you are actually able to engage in undisturbed periods of focus. So that's what I really want you all to think about. And obviously, what is the cumulative effect of this routine over time? We all know where that's going. So, as everyone is more than aware, we're living in very strange times, right? So, we're living through a global health pandemic, which is causing many disruptions in our personal lives and college lives. And it's very easy to look at the whole situation and feel down, feel worried, feel concerned, which is all perfectly normal, and you have every right to do so. However, there are many things that are completely out of our control, things we've no power over, nor can we influence, such as the weather, for example. People in Northern Ireland, we love talking about the weather. We feel we do have some sort of influence over it, but we actually don't. We can't control it. We can't control paying taxes. We can't control getting old. It's natural. And we can't control the current situation. We can contribute and help to improve the situation, but we can't actually control it at the moment. However, the good news is that there are a number of things that we can actually control. And I want you all to think about controlling the controllables is fundamental to our overall well-being. For example, we can control our diet. We can control our exercise. We can control our knowledge acquisition through the books and articles that we read. We can control our self-talk, which is absolutely fundamental. I actually sat in a session with a 76-year-old psychologist, and he was telling us and the entire group about his different experiences over the years. And one of the things he actually really focused on was self-talk. And he asked us all the question. He said, would you speak negatively to your friends? Would you speak negatively to your colleagues? Or would you speak negatively to your parents, for example? Then he asked the question, then why would you speak negatively to yourself? And I really thought that was a very powerful point and something that I've carried with me. I just thought I would share that all with you, because we can obviously control our self-talk, and it's fundamental. Another key thing that we are in control of is our mindset. Our mindset plays a very important role in terms of how we live our life. So it should be very positive news to everyone there that we can actually control it. Now, another aspect of good news is that we can actually control our tech habits. Believe me when I say this, your ability to control your tech habits and dependencies will be crucial to the success of your career. So by getting a handle and gaining control over this early, you will not only set yourself apart from the competition once you graduate, but you'll also improve your overall health and well-being along the way. So I'm now going to share with you some tips on how you can actually improve your relationship with technology. And I would like your feedback on each of the points and maybe highlight some of the ones that you felt were quite useful. So as I previously said, it should come as really good news that you can actually control and improve your relationship with technology. So some of the tips and tricks that you're actually going to see now are very simple, but they're effective. In fact, I was actually speaking on national radio a while back and gave similar tips, and I got really good feedback on them as to how simple they actually were, but how effective they were as well. And people seem to get a lot of benefit from them. So very keen to hear your feedback as well. So the first tip would really be to monitor your screen activity. So back to the first question I asked, do you monitor your screen activity? So by monitoring your screen time, you're starting to become more aware, of where you're actually spending your time on the phone. Then once you're aware, you can actually take action and then try to decrease that on a weekly basis. The second tip that we see, or that we give, is to log out of social media apps on devices. We're actually seeing this as a pretty effective technique. So the fact that you actually have to log back into social media and different apps acts as a deterrent, and it means you're less likely to keep signing in. The next tip is disable notifications on the smartwatch. So I was actually having a really good conversation about this one yesterday. And I have to admit, guys, that I love my smartwatch, and I'd be lost without it whenever it comes to running. I absolutely love it whenever it comes to running. The analytics, the data, etc., fantastic. However, I've had to disable the notifications on the watch as it was proven to be a major distraction. Because let's say you've notifications coming in on the mobile, you've notifications coming in on your laptop, your tablet, and all of a sudden you've got this device vibrating on your wrist. So really good tip, disable the notifications on the smartwatch. Next tip is disable vibrate on silent. So this is actually quite a funny one, because whenever you think of it, it's counterproductive in a way, because you put your phone on silent because you want to do a task and not be distracted, but the phone keeps vibrating, keeps distracting you anyway. So the best thing to do is just disable vibrate on silent. Another one is, and I want you all to start thinking about this, a great aspect of the screen time functionality that all our phones have at the moment is that it actually shows you right down to the very minute in terms of the content that you're consuming. So you can see what type of content you're consuming on a weekly basis. So start paying attention to that content and opt for educational content versus social media. Start to be aware of, are you spending more time on social media platform X versus reading educational articles related to your course, or educational articles that you actually have an interest in regards to personal development or other topics, etc. So really good tip. Just before I move on, does anybody have any feedback, any comments, thoughts on the different tips they're provided? No, all good, is it? Sorry, Pauline, I can't actually hear there. Hello,
Is that better?
That's better now, yeah.
Sorry, that was myself. It's a new headset, guys. I apologize.
Don't worry.
Um, I was just saying there that I think definitely relate to the vibration silence in terms of like notifications popping up. And I think I'm a recent graduate, guys, and I found whenever I was studying that, like, you know, don't put it on vibrate, put it on silent, better off just turn it off. I think you're scared that like you'll miss something, but I don't know how much honestly you can miss on your phone in 1 or 2 hour spans. Like turn it off for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. And then whenever you go to take your break, you can turn it back on and, see what you missed, or, you want to go on it. But, it's again with people talking about procrastination, it's really easy just to go on as like a little break and then you're on it for God knows how long. So that's something I certainly relate to, is that vibrate on silent, because I mean we're the generation that, like, I don't know if anyone has a ringtone. I certainly don't,
Yeah.
because our phones are on us all the time.
Yeah, it's so true, Pauline. Like, if you think of it, how many times have you been, let's say, having a conversation with someone and you've got this device vibrating in your pocket and you've completely lost your train of thought in regards to the conversation because you're thinking, oh, I wonder who's messaging or who's calling in your pocket. So the best thing to do is vibrate in silent, or as you said there, switch the device off for that period. You're not going to miss out on anything, that you won't be able to pick up after that 45 minutes, etc. So just keeping a close eye on time. I want to talk about a little bit about digital well-being and your physical health and how that's related. So particularly now that everyone's going to be studying from home, I want you to start paying attention to your posture. I want you to start taking regular breaks. Try to maintain good sleep patterns and incorporate dedicated meal times into your schedule. So it's very easy now that we're all studying or working from home to fall into, let's say, old habits. But start to really think about how you can use this period to really focus on your physical health as well. And for example, if we look at the sleep hygiene element, if you're struggling to fall asleep at night, stop using your phone at least 30 minutes before bedtime. Refine your bedtime routine and try to stick to it as much as possible. I have here that you use a traditional alarm clock for your alarm in the morning. That's largely due to because it's pure habit where you turn around and you reach for your phone first thing. So having a traditional alarm clock actually eliminates that. And really, really important, particularly during this period. Um, Begin your day with a positive morning routine that does not include your phone for the first 20 minutes as you awake. So once you wake up, engage in, let's say, stretching, foam rolling, meditation, take a walk outside, maybe start to have your breakfast, for example, without having the phone present. Just try to start protecting that first 20 minutes to 30 minutes in the morning and leave it device free. Now, whenever we look at digital well-being and your mental health, so let's say characteristics of optimal health in regards to digital well-being and your mental health look like active rather than passive use. So refraining from negative social comparison, preventing fear of missing out, and not using your device as an escape, let's say. So on the first part, positive social comparison, and this is one that comes up all the time. If you notice yourself feeling down or envious after looking at profiles online, unfollow that profile. Unfollow the profile that make you have, as it says there, it causes you angst. And actually replace that profile with inspirational profiles, that ones that encourage you, ones that provide really good information. For example, unfollow a profile that you don't like and follow maybe another profile that puts up really healthy recipes or really nice. It can be anything. It can be anything related to your particular interests. The key here is to opt for better content. So, as well, if we look at conscious content consumption, if you're consuming more digital content than you mean to, right? Start to set a limit on how often you will check email or social media each day, and for how long. Hide your phone when focusing, as we've talked about. Absolutely fundamental. And challenge yourself or your family and friends to stay below a certain time online. We actually have been working with a company recently, and we set up a screen time challenge which went down really, really well. Everyone engaged in trying to beat each other in terms of decreasing their screen time over the course of I think it was 3 weeks. So this is a game that you could play with your family and friends. Obviously, it's got health benefits as well, which is great. I think we've talked about this quite a bit in regards to digital well-being and your productivity. So It's all about engaging in periods of distraction-free focused work, particularly when you're studying. So reduce that or avoid the online procrastination. How you do that is block off your calendar and or whatever time management system that you have in place. Obviously, you're aware of all the different lectures that you have at certain times throughout your week. Start to block off time periods in your calendar for dedicating focused study or work on your assignments, etc. You start your day with a period of uninterrupted work. Only keep open, and if you cast your memory back to what I requested at the start of the workshop, only open one browser. And why that is because if you're watching a lecture and you've got a number of tabs open, it's very easy to click through different tabs, and become distracted then. So the same is true for whenever you're working on an assignment or on any given task. Minimizing the number of tabs that you have open will actually lead to increased productivity and focus. And as well, a key element that I want you to think about is that start to protect your personal time. And that's related to building in the offline thinking into your week. So define what will be your off work or off study time, or focus on study time, and clearly communicate this to your family, to your friends, to your workplace, etc. So no communication, let's say personal communication within certain time frames, etc. So guys, it's been a whirlwind, overview of what digital well-being is, the importance, and the different tips and tricks that you can actually use to implement. And I just have a question that I want you all just to have a think about. So what changes are you going to make to your digital habits to achieve your goals going forward? So as highlighted here, your digital well-being will play a critical role in your success going forward. So we have the power to use technology in a way that fuels us and accelerates us, motivates us, rather than actually fatigues us. So what changes are you going to make? To finish off, and I think it's very apt now more than ever, I just want to remind you all that despite what the current situation feels like, we still have control over many things. And I just want to remind you that you will overcome all the obstacles that you currently face, and you will succeed. You will come out of this situation much stronger and better placed for success. We're coming into the winter months where it's going to be very easy to deprioritize and take the easy route. I just want you all to keep focused, keep thinking of the bigger picture, keep moving forward, even if it's only baby steps, and I guarantee you that we will be with you every step of the way. Guys, thank you very much for your time, attention, and contribution. It's been an absolute pleasure. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, feedback, etc. Thank you all very much.
Thank you for that, Niall. Got loads of lovely comments coming through. Thank you, very informative. Thank you, appreciate the tips and all. So feel free to pop in any questions there, guys. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, hear you
Yes.
perfectly.
Sorry, I'm self-conscious now
You're
because I
okay.
was on mute before. I'm paranoid.
Don't
Just to let
worry.
everybody else know as well that this was recorded, which is why I didn't say anybody's name during the comments in case that we do put this on the website, but we'll double check that beforehand. But I will be able to send you a copy of the recording afterwards as well, so that you can have this session to look back on if you wish.
Brilliant.
But I don't think we're getting any questions in now.
That's I think that might be good. Hopefully, all the
Yeah,
content was explanatory, so everyone.
hopefully.
Listen, the idea is, as I said, was around creating awareness. And if you left today's workshop with 2 to 3 key nuggets that you can implement in your routine and take them going forward, then it's been a success. Obviously, would, following the session, would love you to provide your feedback to Pauline and the team. And as mentioned, if there's anything we can do to help, be sure to reach out.
Okay, folks, I think we'll end it there if there's no more questions. But thank you again, Niall, for all the work you put into this. It was definitely really informative, and I think we all really enjoyed it.
Brilliant, no problem. Absolute pleasure. Thank you very
Of
much,
course.
guys. Wishing you
Thanks
all
so
the very
much.
bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.